Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. We've got a relatively short agenda this evening. We'll get right to it. Our first discussion is SE 126675, a COC request from Eversource. This is the utility right-of-way at three monopole structures behind the substation at 21 Rear Main Street.
So you guys may recall, some of you that were here last year will recall that Eversource came to us for a minor modification change, which involved installing like a underground utility trench and like fiber optic cables under the ground. So they just finished that work over the summer, and the site has been stabilized. It's been revegetated. Essentially it was to install 4 of these monopoles in this area. It's behind where the large electric substation is off of Main Street. So I was out there earlier this week on Tuesday, and this is what it looks like out there. These are the 2 structures closest to the wetlands. The wetlands are back there to the rear underneath the poles, and then that is the manhole cover for the underground access. So, as you can see, like the erosion control is still in place. This is all like regrowth that's coming back since the summer. So the whole buffer zone is vegetated. They seeded it with a grass seed up closer to the poles themselves. So that's all come in nicely. And they are all done with this project. So they're requesting the COC. I didn't see any issues with the site. It all seemed to be done according to the modification plan that they had submitted to us last year and you guys had approved. So I recommend issuing a complete COC for this.
Okay, anyone have any questions, comments?
Nope.
No.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the COC.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the COC request for SE 126675. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously.
And if I could just get you guys to sign this one before we move on.
Thanks
Don't forget.
for going out there, Emil.
You're welcome, yeah.
Pictures are helpful. That's good. I like it.
Yeah, I gotta use my town issued cell phone for something. I barely use it, but it does come in handy for site photos and stuff.
I'm the odd one. Said I'm the odd one out with the blue pen.
You're a stand-up.
Okay, next up is Legacy Stables, survey plan review and discussion.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Bill Madden from JF Engineering here on behalf of Legacy Stables. Michael and Elizabeth engaged me to prepare or conduct the survey work, get the wetland line delineated that was discussed at the last meeting or so. We just got brought in on it kind of a little later than normal due to the scheduling of things, and I apologize for not getting a plan to put up on the screen. But I've made copies of everything that I have on my board here, half sizes if you'd like. And there's 3 separate ones there. What's that?
I can hand them out.
Okay, thanks. And there's probably a couple of extras. I think there's a couple, there probably should be 8 or 9 in each one of those stacks. I'll wait until you get them all before I really start in the meat of the discussion, but our wetlands consultant that we use, Brad Holmes from ECR, he was the wetland scientist who flagged the wetlands at the site. And based on, well, I met Brad out there, we walked around, I left, Brad, and then Brad flagged up the wetlands on the site. So that's how we initially get started. Once Brad hung his inland bank flags associated with the Wewantic River and the BVW flags associated with the neighboring bordering vegetated wetland, we sent our field crew out to locate the flagging stations. All the flagging stations that we located are shown on the plans. The first one that I think I'd just like to go over, I guess initially the discussion points that I read in the minutes of the meeting and the correspondence that was available with the file was that there was essentially the request to indicate what we had for wetland resource areas, within 65 feet away from the manure pile. So that's what we located all the wetland flags and I dimensioned them on the plans. So you might see as we start over to the northwest side, there's some inland bank flags that are associated with the Wewantic River, just to the, I guess, as we're looking at the plan, to the right of the riding arena. The inland bank flags follow the river around to the east and then a little bit more to the south, and they're all designated by the IB flagging station numbers that represents the inland bank. The inland bank was needed for us to determine our riverfront area. The riverfront area is measured from the from that inland bank, that first break in there, and that's where it was determined to be, where it's designated on the plan. You can see that it's fairly significant away from the manure pile in most instances. The area over by, I guess it's let's see, bank flag number 5 right there. That's the closest point, or the closest point to the manure pile. It's 45 feet away. The most distant point is flag number 12, which is about 140 feet away from the manure pile. And then as we continue down to the south, the flag number IB19 is, I don't know, just about 65 feet from the manure pile, 65 feet from that inland bank. So you can see that the 65-foot dimension that was being discussed, I think that was probably one of the primary discussion points, was 65 feet away from the river at the last meeting. It is 65 feet away from the river, with that one exception over here on that northwest side of the site, and that's where we stand with respect to the distance and the setback from the river. also point out that that 65 feet, it's all within that, the 100-foot riparian zone that's associated with the Weemanuc River. And just not to confuse the plan, I wanted to give you a plan that showed simply the wetland boundary and a couple of setback dimensions. The second plan that you have shows all the buffer zones to the,
Yeah, I gave you guys the one that has all the buffer zones on it.
Okay.
So there's one that's just a little bit less confusing without the lines on it, but I think that's probably the one that you guys will.
Is there a 200-foot marker?
Yeah, it's on there.
Is shown
This goes through
on
the
that.
there's only, it's a 100-foot, it's a 100-foot riverfront area for agriculture. So this type of farming would be considered agriculture, and it would be subject to the 100-foot riverfront area. Obviously, the 200-foot riverfront area, we did show it on the plan. If you have it on there, it's well out there into the paddock. So we showed it for convenience sake more than anything else. But you can just see from that plan what we have for constraints. But I just wanted to focus in on what the initial discussion point was, and that was trying to keep the pile 65 feet away from the river. When we went out there and surveyed it, that one piece is 45 feet and change, and we can ensure by the end of the day tomorrow that that will be pulled back and there won't be anything within 65 feet of the river, or the inland bank river. So we'll do that since I just found out today it's 45 feet. As you know, we're extraordinarily busy with work, and we got this in to meet the October 15th deadline, and we're here with the work product, but I would have preferred to present it in advance. I just didn't have the time. But in any event, that's what we have there. There's an erosion control barrier that's placed around the site, and you'll see that we also have a BVW flag line that's in between the manure pile and the inland bank flagging stations. It starts, there is no BVW associated with those first half dozen flags or so. That inland bank there is an abrupt, it's a vertical drop right off the upland, and there is no BVW associated with it. So where Brad did identify the BVW over there by flag, what's that, number 8, I guess? Flag number 8, that was the area where the BVW first exposed itself. And this whole area in here is that grassed area. You can see it on the aerial photograph. It looks a little, I don't know, it looks like shrubby more so than grass, but that's reed canary grass. It's pretty substantial stand of it. It's around knee high and what have you. And there were no signs that were present that indicated that there was any erosion going on in that BVW. There was no indication of any sedimentation from the manure pile or any areas adjacent to it. That area is substantially vegetated and did not exhibit any signs of disturbance. You will note though that in that grassed area, Brad did auger some test holes throughout that area to get to the underlying soils, which were hydric soils. So that was an indicator that the fill, which I think was in the form of the composted manure, historically had been pushed out into that area, and the reed canary grass established itself throughout that area. So we have a section of land of BVW that appears that it's been filled over with some of the manure historically over time. So that's what we have for wetland resource areas in the immediate area of the, of the manure pile. So after we sorted out the resource areas, we put our buffer zones on, and, you know, we show a 100-foot riverfront area. We also show a 65-foot buffer zone to the BVW. You can see that it's associated with this wetland flag, series A6 through, or A1 through A7 or 8 rather. There's a 100-foot buffer zone associated with that. And then there's a 100-foot buffer zone associated with the remaining wetland flags that pushes that line out into this area here. So we show really that 65-foot, we show a 65-foot wetland buffer zone because of the 65-foot the Conservation Commission uses to restrict any structures, building, and disturbance in there. So you can just see from that line that it's a, you know, we encompass the entire manure pile within that 65 area as we rely on that BVW. We also show that we have the 100-foot riverfront area that encompasses the vast majority of that pile. So there's really not too much area available where that pile is now that meets any of the wetland setbacks the Conservation Commission has. There's also another set of rules that the Board of Health has on stables in manure handling and whatnot. And there's a series of setbacks that they have in their regulations that require a setback from a paddock, from a manure pile, from a drain line, from a BVW. It's all in their rules and regulations. So we have two different sets that we're dealing with right now, but the most important one is the one with conservation. I just bring up the Board of Health section, assuming you may not be aware of it. You might be, you might not be, but there's another set of rules that we have to work with. There's an area over here just to the south of that 100-foot riverfront area. We show a drain line that was discovered during the field survey. Not certain where that originates and what have you, but it becomes a constraint with using this area as well because the manure pile needs to be a specified distance away from that drain line.
Drain line mean like a drainage ditch or something? Or what is
No, this is actually a pipe. It's
pipe.
It's a 6-inch pipe. I think it must come from a small area drain in the driveway.
Oh, I see.
Up in the front somewhere.
Where does it terminate?
It terminates right there. It's just exposed at that location. So it's an open-end pipe there.
That's draining the parking lot.
So it's draining the parking lot?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know what it is draining,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
it appears as though it's coming from up in this area here, and that's a gravel
So
parking.
there's
area.
no exposed grate in this area where you think it's coming from?
We did not see an
You can't-
exposed, we did not
find
see it, and after I reviewed the plan, I think we'll go back and look to see if there is something there. But there was no water flowing out of it at the time, and
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Was there anything coming out of the termination? And
no.
Should look again today.
I was going to say,
Yeah, right.
After the weekend, yeah, right.
when did you look inside the drain as far as?
When did we do the survey?
Yeah. Was it before Sunday?
September 23rd and October of this year.
Okay, so it was
recent.
before, was it before Sunday? I'm just curious, because we had a lot of rain in.
Yes, it
over
was
the last
before
few days.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Today's what, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, it was before Sunday.
Yeah, the date on the plan is the 10th.
Okay.
So that was Friday.
Friday.
Friday?
Next Friday.
Yeah. So that's what that's what we have with respect to the buffer zones and the wetlands. We're confident in the wetland boundary, we're confident in the buffer zone. Our hands are really being somewhat tied with the way the site has been used over the years. And now we have to really think as to how we want to manage the manure on site. They do, I think they submitted to you a manure management plan at some point, maybe a week or so ago, that talked about accelerating and compressing the pickup periods for that manure. I think it's done once a quarter right now, and they wanted to maybe do it every 3 months, perhaps. I forget what the actual timeline that was proposed. But we really have to think about how we want to deal with it. And we're going to need to come back before the commission for with a notice of intent for the activities, since some of the activities will occur, well, assuming we go forward with an activity that does occur within a resource area or the buffer zone, we'll need to come before you with a full application. And quite honestly, we have not determined how we are going to try to deal with it. I mean, reading in the documentation or the correspondence that was prepared, there was some discussion about, digging a pit, concrete floored pit, that type of thing in the ground, cover on the pile, or what, and things of that nature. And we just are looking into all that. There's just, not much room to do things. It's very convenient to have this practice occur at that location. That's what's happened over the years. And, I think everybody is, tied into that operational feature of dealing with that site, but it doesn't seem to me that the commission would be in a position to allow that to continue on. And, obviously from reading the file, there's some need for mitigation. So that's why I gave you the aerial photograph, because if you look at the aerial photograph, everything on the westerly side, was that going to be the westerly side? The northerly portion of the site, rather. That's where our predominant BVW buffer zone areas are. The constraints are pretty significant there. But if we go to the opposite side of the site at the southerly end, where it's wooded, you'll see that on the aerial photograph. There is some area there that's not subject to the same level of resource area that we've encountered over here. We're not suggesting that we want to move the manure pile over there, but it is exhibiting a fewer constraints than the northerly portion of the site. And depending upon the methodology that we're looking to, we're not looking to employ any particular methodology now, but we need to consider moving the compost pile either to the south of the site or coming up with a different way of dealing with it at the northerly end of the site. So we weren't tasked with coming up with that solution just yet. I wanted to present this to you guys first and have an open discussion, see what your thoughts are on it before we sit down and think about how we might want to move forward on things and go from there. So with that, I don't know if you'd prefer to just ask some questions as to what's going on or what we think, or have me continue on, because I'm running out of material. So I'll leave it up. I'll turn it over to the commission at this point.
All right. Emil, do you want to start anything yet? I'll turn it over to the other commissioners. If you
I would just say thank you, Bill, for your work and
Yeah.
for Brad's work on this, to get us a clear picture of where we're at in terms of the resource areas. I think it's generally, similar to what we had like kind of an idea of. The only thing that, you know, stands out to me in this is that the BVW is a lot closer to the existing pile than we had hoped. You know, kind of hoped it was kind of further back into the weeds back there, if you will, but it, you know, it really is pretty close up to the existing pile, you know, which, you know, to me is an indicator that, you know, it's gonna have to move. It's gonna have to be reduced in size, at the very least. And again, the commission had discussed quite a few things on this. We've been over this quite a bit, but I think, in my mind, as we've discussed at previous meetings, you know, utilizing this area in a way that is, you know, more contained, including a, you know, concrete floor, a, like, you know, we had discussed like concrete knee walls, and a roof would probably be my ideal suggestion for this. You know, it would probably be a pretty large containment area considering the size and scope of the, you know, stable operation, and ideally it would be outside of our 65-foot wetland buffer, which doesn't leave much room, but there is an area at the rear of the like paddock, existing paddock, that is outside of the 65-foot, and is behind where the drain that you had mentioned is located. That would keep things outside of the, you know, 65-foot and the 100-foot riverfront area. So, you know, maybe a long, skinny containment, you know, structure in that area would be a ideal situation. But I think just based on looking at this, it's, you know, it's a little bit more of a, like, you know, concerning situation than we had initially thought, just because of the location of the BVW. You had mentioned the Board of Health regulation, and their regulation, like ours, is a 65-foot setback from wetlands, including BVW. So, like, the Board of Health, you know, although they've said multiple times that, you know, they don't have an issue with what's going on here, I'm not sure really how well they're, you know, aware of the wetland locations. So, you know, with that in mind, my feeling is that, you know, if it's going to be left as just a exposed pile, it definitely has to be outside of that 65-foot from the BVW. And again, I think my ideal situation would be to have some kind of concrete containment structure with a roof, maybe that's open to that exposed area, so that, you know, you guys can shovel in the manure and then, you know, pull up a trailer, shovel it out. Again, I think that's my ideal situation in this case. But yeah, it's really, you know, I think, you know, there's also quite a bit of area that, like you said, there's no BVW on the north side by the river. So there is some area there that you're going to be outside of the 65, outside of the 100-foot, in that area as well. And I'm talking about, I guess, like, just generally closer to the stable, but in this location, and then as well as this location. So those are kind of, looks like the areas to me that you guys have to work with in terms of, you know, protecting the resource areas, protecting our 65-foot buffer and the river. I know there are a lot of concerns, you know, just about, you know, contamination in the river from this. You know, with the neighbors, they're, you know, concerned about, like, things like E. coli and, you know, that just, like, coming downstream towards them. Not that that would necessarily impact their drinking water, but that's something that they've expressed concerns about as well, from their wells and things like that. So, you know, I think this gives us a, you know, at least it gives us a clear understanding of where things are at on the site. And I'd just like to, you know, hear from the commission what your thoughts are, maybe hear from the owners if they have anything to add.
Okay.
So-
I have one question. I'm looking at the aerial photo, and I see the two fenced-in paddocked areas in red. And it looks as though the area between them that is not fenced in has horses in it as well, from the aerial photo. Are they unfenced?
Well, we couldn't just, could not see where a fence was on that aerial photograph, so that's why we didn't box it in with a red, with a red line. I would have to defer that to the Murphys, because I didn't go any further than the corner of the paddock that we see on the screen right now.
Okay.
Emil, can you scroll up a little bit so we can see exactly where Sabri's talking?
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
Right there, yeah.
Yeah.
so
There is a
it looks like there's a fence along
line
that
back
background,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is a fence there? There's a fence there.
There is and okay, and that just
Yeah.
connects the two
Kind of a
corners,
faint
pretty
line.
much?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so there are three paddocks there. Do you know offhand what the health department's distance is between a paddock and a manure pile?
I can look it up, see if it's in there.
Yeah, I just see from their bylaw, they have 65 feet from a wetland, 50 feet from a surface/subsurface drain, 150 feet from abutting dwellings, 25 feet from side and rear lot lines, 25 feet from public or private roadways, 200 feet from a public water supply, and 150 feet from a private water supply. So I didn't see anything on paddocks in there. I don't know, maybe that's something that's not in this section, but maybe it's in like the animal, safety or animal protection, like pet guidelines, anything like that. But again, we're here to discuss the wetlands and the wetlands protection. It is like we had mentioned before, the 65 foot for the Board of Health and us is like a bare minimum.
Right, no, I'm
for
trying to
this
figure
type
out, where it might go.
Yeah.
One more thing, what did you say was the distance from a drain? 50 feet?
50 feet, yeah, but I mean, I wonder if that is like, because this is a discharge pipe, like, I'm thinking it would be like the source of a drain.
A catch basin. I mean,
But
the drain.
again, if this pipe is discharging water, then, you're potentially washing runoff from wherever that's draining from, whether it be a roof drain or a driveway drain. Then, if there is water just rushing out of that, and then you have a manure pile like right behind where that's discharging, then you don't want that either. So,
And
yeah,
the
it would be.
specifications doesn't dictate
Thanks.
which end of the drain, it just says drain.
Right, but it's on the downward slope.
Correct.
Do you guys have any experience, Liz and Michael, on if their water ever comes out of that?
I've seen water coming out of it, and we
Okay.
don't, it's been there, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably blocked up or.
I'm sure, yeah. It's probably coming from the driveway area.
All right, so,
Is there a sink in the barn, is there a sink in the barn that it could be draining from there? No.
I don't know.
I know a lot of barns have washrooms
Right,
for
right,
horses. I
right.
don't know.
No.
okay. Comments from the commission. Ann, start with you.
So thank you for doing this. It's very helpful. I think, like, for me, it's easier, so the flagging's all in place right now. So for me, it's always easier when we walk it so that we can think more concretely about, the possibilities. And I'm sure you're just busy, so I understand you couldn't get it to us ahead of time, but it would be good to be able to walk it and see. That's my feedback. Just to see, especially now how it looks after getting all that rain as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, look, this map is great, but this one here with all the boundaries on it, it's a little confusing. But I was just wondering why the 65-foot buffer comes over and just terminates there by, why wouldn't we extend it 65 feet from the bank also?
I suppose there would be a 65-foot from the bank on that side as well.
Yeah.
In terms of just a straight up 65 from any wetland.
Right.
I guess the reason they terminated it there is because it's specifically from that series of BVW
BBW flags, right, that's
So-
what I figured.
so
But-
that's why
But it
they-
would normally extend, you would be moving that.
Yeah, if you're looking
60
at
foot.
our bylaw, like
Right.
we would regulate a 65-foot from a inland bank. So that would be.
It'd be all the way, it would follow the river
It
course,
would follow the river
basically.
65 feet.
Yes.
Right. And then it'd be kind of parallel with the 100-foot riverfront area,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
It would kind of be 65, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so there's a sliver of area that's like where the smaller existing manure pile is.
Right,
That would be an area that would be probably,
Close
you
to
know,
65.
just outside of-
Yeah.
Well, we know the closest point is 45 feet
Right.
Yep.
Right.
between flag,
IB
IB5.
5 to the big pile, right, to the big,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's just why it's good to walk it.
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah.
is really small.
Well, there's a lot, it's a
This is
busy
really,
map,
really
a lot of
small.
information on
Yeah,
that
there's a
map,
lot- there's a lot
but,
on there.
yeah, but it's interesting.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
used to looking at these, but
Yeah, and I'm sure Bill will get me a electronic copy. I'll send it to you guys so you can actually look at it a little bit closer up. And I agree, it is helpful to see it again in person. I know Savory, Ann, and I have been out there, but I know the three of you guys haven't, so, you know, seeing it in person would be helpful. I just think, you know, like, in order for us to move on and the owners to move forward with, you know, their work that they do on this property, like, we kind of need to come with some kind of either recommendation or enforcement action that's going to require them to, you know, do and comply with our regulations and do some kind of solution here.
You mean tonight?
I mean, I would recommend it in you know, in terms of like just speeding up the process. Like, I think
Right.
we can all agree that we want to keep this pile outside of 65 feet now that we've seen, you know, where it is. So, you know, at the minimum, like, issuing a enforcement order to say like, hey, you need to keep this pile outside of 65 feet would probably be my recommendation. And then if they're, you know, want to consider, you know, doing some kind of containment, you know, that would be up to them. Or if that's something that you guys feel like you want to require them to do, then I think, you know, it has to be, you know, we have to be kind of specific about what we're asking from them. So if you guys would like to go out there and walk it, I mean, that's just gonna, you know, add another, you know, we don't have a meeting for the next 2 weeks, then it's like 3 weeks. We're talking about 3 weeks away from our next meeting, before we can, you know, make any progress on it, so.
Do you know when your next pickup is scheduled?
The first week in November.
The first week in November? Okay. When they come and pick it up, do they take it all? They take all of it? Okay, good to know. Okay.
I think, you know, the pile that's shown here is kind of like one of the like larger, you know, footprints of where it has been historically, but, you know, like now as they're managing it and removing it more frequently, it's probably, you know, just going to get smaller, and could potentially fit in the 65-foot area. You know, we'd have to move it. It'd have to be moved significantly back from where it is and closer to the barn. But there is, like, if we're just trying to enforce that 65, then there is some space for a smaller pile in there. But I think, you know, again, ideally, there's some kind of containment that, you know, can be, you know, a little bit more protective.
What's the significance of the 100-foot riverfront area as far as we're concerned?
It's just a 100-foot buffer from the river itself. It's the inner riparian zone.
Right.
So, you know, that's the more sensitive section of the the riverfront. Like Bill mentioned, if you're talking about like agricultural exemption, the agricultural exemption doesn't necessarily regulate the outer riparian zone.
But it does the inner, then, right, is what you're saying?
Yes, I believe so. I don't fully have the that understanding of that part of the regulation, but
I think that if we were to alter that inner 100 feet, some of that, we'd be able to, well, subject to approval of conservation, you're able to alter 5% of the river, 10% of the riverfront area, or 5,000 square feet, whichever is greater. We have pretty significant riverfront area on there, but that's if we were doing some ground disturbance, we'd be able to do
like a
10% of
foundation
5,000
or-
square feet
Right.
within that 100-foot, first 100 foot.
Okay. Jen, anything want to add? Carl?
Well, I don't disagree, walking it again would be helpful, but I agree with them, Emil, that bare minimums, they gotta get out of the 65 foot. And now that it's delineated, maybe some sort of physical marker on the ground, like a lot of times we make them put posts with markers on there, or, split rail fence or something, just so they know that they're not pushing into the 65 foot at the bare minimum, as far as I'm concerned.
But as far as coming up with a recommendation, what we would like, I mean,
Right. Like I said, that's the bare minimum.
all right, the easiest thing would be to put it in someplace else.
Right.
It's not gonna, on the southern end of the property, and then they don't have to deal with it.
What can of worms until we open it up if we move the pile?
I don't think they have a lot of options.
No.
It would just, the only problem is it would be closer to the neighbors.
Right.
So we're trying to
So that's
keep
why
it-
we were trying to keep it.
I get you.
I get it,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there's room to do that.
It'd just be operationally harder to move it further away, especially during winter, obviously. 'cause
Sure.
You're talking a few thousands of feet,
Mhm.
which is quite difficult to decide. And I also don't want to put it in view of or closer to the neighbors. I'm trying to keep it in the best location that it.
Trying to be best neighbors as possible.
Exactly, so it's furthest away from them, so it's not a nuisance for them to see, or whatever. Also, it's not noticeable from the road that way too, for people driving by, because we do have a lot of frontage. So we try to keep the property looking as best it can. We just want it in a good location that is satisfying for you all, and operationally works for us and has that. And the 65 feet, like Bill had said, we can have that accomplished tomorrow. The silk fence that we have, we can hold that on that 45 spot, move it so it's 65, so our staff sees it and knows where it is, so it's in that boundary.
What about increasing the amount of times you have it picked up?
We're willing to do that, and I think
We
you're
put
gonna.
that in the,
Yeah,
it's in the
and I
management.
think
plan.
you'll find the pile right now is so small, I mean, it would fit, it's not even a quarter of the size of this room right now, and that's as big as it's gonna ever get, again, picking up 4 times a year.
I think the catalyst that started this whole thing was the size of the pile.
Correct, and I don't disagree with you, and I think it was out of sight, out of mind, I take responsibility for that, we live in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not there all the time, and I honestly think it was just out of sight, out of mind, because that's not our intent.
Yep.
And I think, honestly, it's really small. And we have a third of the horses we had there as well. There's only 35, 40 horses there right now.
So I think the issue of containment that you brought up, like what is that, how would that be represented in, creating an order? Do you mean containment in terms of like impervious, like concrete? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I'm saying like ideally, I think like it based on like the recommendations
Groundwater
of
leaching, right?
based on the recommendations of the USDA. The USDA recommends a concrete slab with knee walls and a roof.
We've seen that more
Yeah, maybe-
typically, and I understand how USDA would do that, but we've seen that more with dairy farms.
Right.
Where they have the big manure pits, and they're very sloped like a boat ramp almost, confined on 3 sides, and with some kind of cover over the over the top of it. This site, I don't necessarily think a concrete slab is needed on this site. If we were to do some type of an enclosure, the exterior grading can be done in a manner that no runoff would be allowed to enter into the area. Just say it was at grade. And if there were a roof on it, there'd be really no potential for any precipitation to get down on it. The ground out there is very compact. It's not very sandy at all. It's looks to me to be glacial till more than anything else, and doesn't have much leaching capacity. There's, no indication that water's going to seep through that ground readily. And I think that if it was graded in a manner that was up a little bit, surrounding grade, on the existing soil that's there with some type of enclosure, if that's what the desire is, that we could minimize, if not eliminate, all the precipitation from falling on the pile, and then we wouldn't have any potential infiltration into the ground or runoff into the river.
Okay.
So at the minimum, just a roof over it, basically, with some grading.
And some grading.
It sounds like,
But outside of the 60
pavilion type structure, I guess it would have to be pretty tall, just so that the machine, whatever machine that you use, can get in and out of there.
Yeah, I mean, if they do the 4 times a year and the pile isn't extraordinarily high, it could work out fine.
outside the 65-foot buffer, right?
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
thing, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
sounds reasonable to me.
What I would suggest for short term is that when they have their next scheduled pickup in the first week of November, that at that point, the 65-foot is flagged. And then from that point on, they don't put anything in there. We do another site visit.
By flag, do you mean like permanently marked with?
Well,
like,
just
permanent
some
markers?
kind of, maybe just roped off so that they're aware not to put any manure in the 65 feet. They're for your
Yeah.
employees, whoever's running the
I
tractor.
think in the interest of keeping it, like more permanent, like either 4x4 posts or.
No, I understand
or
that,
a
but,
split rail fence would be
but
ideal.
also, this is in conjunction with us taking another site visit and coming back with a more long-term recommendation, maybe along the lines of what Bill said with the pavilion. And then that becomes, that pavilion, the posts of the pavilion each have a sign on it, something like that. But
So you're just saying like mark the 65?
mark the 65
like,
after the next,
so that-
in 3 weeks when it's all gone, because then you're going to have a clean slate. Just go in, put a rope, a couple of posts and a rope, and any manure that is collected between the first week in November and when we make a recommendation and the work gets done has to stay on the upland side of that rope.
Why can't we do both? Why can't we do more permanent posts and?
Well, I'm just,
pavilion down the road?
I mean, we can.
You know what I'm saying? It
Actually,
just, I'm thinking in perpetuity, you know what I'm saying? It
Might as well
just,
just
Well, no, I think that, I
Well,
think that we're gonna come back with
I think
a
what Savory is
pavilion.
saying is
We're gonna
that-
have a pavilion.
Right,
They're
I
not
get
gonna
it.
be able to do that in 3 weeks before the next pickup.
no, I get that. No, I know. That's,
So-
like I said, I don't.
I'm just thinking of something that's,
We do houses and we make them put posts up with the border, with the signs on them. Just
Actually,
so
I think
people
posts would be a
know.
good idea, just.
So, just so people know to stay
Yeah,
on
I,
that.
I think
cheap,
what
too.
Savory is saying is like, yes, that in the long term, that will be part of whatever,
No, I'm just saying.
recommendation. He's
We're
just
gonna make
saying,
them do it
like,
anyway, if it's
if
gonna be
we're-
part of the
right.
order of conditions anyway.
well, I'm thinking that they could put the placards or whatever on the posts of the roof,
Right,
which isn't gonna be done in 3 weeks.
right.
But also, do you
But
wanna-
the roof isn't gonna contain this whole area.
No,
I'm thinking-
no, oh, I know, I see what you're saying. You're
We don't
saying
know what's
along the
gonna
whole
happen in the
65.
future, so that, I think putting posts would be a good idea.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I just,
Right, but like the question becomes like, do you want to issue that in an enforcement order at this time, or do you want to wait, go out, have another site visit, then issue some kind of
Well, I
enforcement
think,
order
you know,
requiring.
I think if we make that, you know, if we come to agreement that that's what we'll do in the first week of November, when all the manure is gone, and the owners agree to that, I mean, it's easy for us to go check to make sure, and if there has been any encroachment on that, in that 65 after the first week of November, then that's something we can bring up at our next meeting. I'm just trying to, yeah, I wouldn't feel this way if their next pickup was at the end of December. I would think we would have to do something different, but we're talking about 3 weeks here, and it's going to be the
This would
same.
be an interim thing, just for.
Yeah, just,
for now.
yeah, because
Okay.
that's going to allow for all the manure to leave the
Yes,
site.
so our next meeting is on the 5th of November.
Right.
So that would, you know, sounds like that would be after your next pickup. They said, you know, first week in November, so, you know, could be after, but, you know.
They said November 1st.
First week.
First week,
Oh,
so
first week.
she's looking it up now, I think.
I have to ask Mel, do you know
I thought it was November 1st.
So-
27th, first weekend.
So we should issue something tonight though, right? I mean,
Yes.
I mean. what we want-
An
how we
agreement,
move
I
forward.
guess.
Agreement of some kind?
Do you think an enforcement order is necessary at this point?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's necessary if we're gonna go out there and make some kind of, you know, next step. But I mean, they've worked with us very well throughout this whole process. You know, it may have, obviously, there are people who would, you know, the neighbors who feel like that they're, you know, not cooperating. But I feel like, you know, having direct
We already have the 3 sides, just that one spot, and we literally can move it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, like they did the survey without us issuing an enforcement order. You
Okay.
know, we don't have to do that way, but I just think in the long run, if, you know, if we want to have something that is like, you know, binding for them to, you know, go ahead and do this and move it outside of 65, they're already saying that they can have that done,
Okay.
you know, by tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, but we always have the option of
Yes.
issuing an enforcement
Yes.
order.
So I think-
Should things not be done
Yes,
the way.
and there's like also option for me as the agent to just issue an enforcement order if something, you know, got out of hand, and then you would guys would ratify it at another meeting. But I really don't find that as the case in this situation. I feel like, you know, Liz and Michael have, you know, worked very cooperatively with us, and they just want to see this, you know,
Right.
in a situation where they can, you know, move on to other things, which is, you know,
But I think
totally
we're in
understandable.
agreement that going forward, that this is going to have to be at a minimum a covered pavilion type.
Covered area
Covered
outside
area.
of the 65-foot
And the
buffer.
65-foot buffer will be marked clearly.
Yeah, that's like, that sounds like the, you know, the consensus of everyone, including Bill.
So the issue enforcement order, it would be part of the record though, right? Would that be the easiest to make it part of the record so it's done, right? And it's
Yes. in
Defined
terms-
of what's gonna happen.
In terms of like, yes, making it a part of record, making it, you know, required by law. That would be like the cleanest and simplest, you know,
Way to do it,
way
right?
to do it, yeah.
It'd be
And
clear about where we're going,
Yep.
and what's gonna
And,
All
happen.
right, so we would just issue an enforcement order with the conditions that we're talking about tonight, and the step-by-step.
Mhm. And a date certain that, you know, all this would be accomplished by. I mean, it sounds like, you know, the moving it out of the 65 can be done, you know, pretty quickly, but, you know, actually coming up with like a, you know, designated area where they want to have like, you know, covered
Right.
storage, that's going to be, you know, something that they're going to work, you know, with.
And that would require an NOI.
Potentially, I think it will depend on, you know, on the proposal. I think we can cross that bridge when we get there, but it could be as simple as an RDA, if it is, you know, like,
Okay.
you know, kind of along the lines of what we've been discussing here.
All right. Okay, so an enforcement order is basically just an official documentation of what we're asking tonight.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that then. Any other?
Can I just ask a question on the enforcement order?
Yes.
You know, I don't know, I think enforcement order is a little on the more harsh side in, you know, where we've completed the tasks that have been asked of us so far. We've not exhibited any characteristics that are saying that we're not going to comply with what you're looking to do. We know we need to file further paperwork with the commission, whether it be a determination, an RDA, or whether it be an NOI. And, that would be the next step for us to get that paperwork prepared and ready to submit. We do have to internally between the client and myself, we have to discuss the options on whatever mitigation we're going to choose, financial being one of them, and availability of, whatever the corrective measure would be, availability of the products to do the work. So,
Okay.
I mean, if we were told that we need to have a filing into you by a date certain, just as we got this survey done, we would have the filing done as well. I mean, I don't know if we got to really go to the enforcement action, and I mean, just the connotation of enforcement,
I
it
agree.
just has negativity.
It does sound bad, I
associated.
get it, but
That's all.
we're just trying to make it official. Well, what's the other official thing we
Well,
can
I
do?
think, again, it's not official. We can ask for them, like we did last time, to, get us a filing by November 5th. We'll go out and take a walk. At that point, we'll all, have an idea of where things are at. I mean, I tend to agree with Bill. I tend to agree with Savory that it's not necessary to issue an enforcement order in this case. It is more of a, it's really more of a, formalizing things. But I do think, that my recommendation, I guess, would be along the lines of what Savory had recommended. Let's go out there on the 5th. Let's take a look at the site, and let's at that point make a further decision, and maybe on the 5th then you either have an application from the applicant, or then at that point we issue an enforcement order if it's if you want to ask for them to have something in by the 5th, which is our next meeting 3 weeks from now.
So
So that would be the NOI though? Is that what that would be?
Or an RDA.
We would probably discuss that at once they have an idea of what it is that they would go back, have their discussion with their representative, and then Bill could come in and discuss it with me, and I would give an idea if it's an NOI or an RDA. But there's a lot of considerations again because
Right, well, I mean, I was kind of going along with things. It hasn't been confrontational at all. There's been no
Right.
resistance to any kind of work on this, and we always have the enforcement order in our pocket if we need it, so.
Sabria, I would just ask that we got that before the meeting. So for tonight's meeting, I really expected that we would have gotten these plans maybe a day or two ago, that we could have looked over it, that we could have walked through it, so we really could have thought about the area thoughtfully. We want to do this thoughtfully. So when we come to a meeting, I can't hardly see this, I really want to walk it.
Well, we're
So
going to.
for the next meeting, I'd rather that we get to see it first with everything demarcated, I hope the 65-foot is flagged all the way around. Here's the stop.
Out in the field, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where is that point that you're speaking of about where you were ended?
Well,
'Cause
I can show it to you.
I didn't know if it actually did, I think.
we might have stopped it because of the BBW, but we need to see the
I think it
plan.
was it right here?
No, it was up there, yeah.
Right
Yeah,
here.
right in, yeah.
See this 65-foot line? It just kind of stops.
Stops on the arc there.
It should stay with the arc. You see the rivers here? It should go like this.
Right, but we'd also have to overlay the 65-foot from the riverbank as well,
Right,
which isn't there. Yeah.
which isn't there.
Which
yeah.
isn't there.
I think, and
So-
what Ann is saying is for whatever plan comes along with, an RDA or an NOI application, we'd want to see that.
Yeah, they'd have to be fully marked.
Just to make sure that whatever
Fully marked.
proposal there is outside of that 65 as well from the bank.
Okay.
Especially if we're putting a structure there.
So as far as tonight, we just ask for them to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've made good faith effort.
No, right.
They
Yes,
haven't-
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's been no,
Okay. No. Okay. Enforcement does sound bad, but it's not really, we're just trying to make it official, but
Yeah.
okay, that's fine.
like I said, we can always wield that stick at a later date if it becomes necessary, but I really don't think it's gonna become necessary, so.
Okay.
Under there. Okay. So,
And then they don't necessarily have to build the roof structure, if they move it out of it. If you move it totally away from everything, then you don't have to worry about it, right?
Right.
Well, that's
So
an
the enforcement
option.
order would kind of make it more difficult for that, so.
that's
right?
an option, but still,
So-
there's not a lot of room to do that, especially
Well,
with
they could put
the-
it into other paddock.
Not on
if they
the
had
side
to,
of the property.
You know?
Well,
It doesn't sound like it's gonna be an option, so.
Yeah,
yeah, and, you know, it's.
okay, but just
Well, I mean,
If they're going to move it further to the,
south?
well,
Moving it to the neighbor's property line is going to only cause
It's gonna be
more-
another-
No, but if you move it into
No
that
problem,
little,
it's
the
gonna
first
be-
rectangular paddock right
they would have to
there.
go through wetlands with the driveway to
Yeah.
get there.
By the white building, you see by the white little thing there? Just, if they took part of that paddock, it'd be away from everything, we don't have to worry about it.
I mean,
Yeah,
not to
you're
add,
saying, you're saying this,
Right- No, that paddock, no, just to the left of that, right in
The
there.
big
It's
one.
The corner, see that little white thing, trailer, what is right there?
this,
No, the small one,
Up top.
right there, right there. If you went just to the left of, no, to the, yeah, to the left of that, or,
Well, that's where that drain pipe is.
yeah, okay. whatever.
I think, you know, if that drain pipe isn't doing any work, we would probably
just
just
get
remove
pulled
it, so
out,
it's
yeah.
not a
Anyway.
design thing to consider. And
Right, that's
that
what I was
is
thinking.
the only area that
Right.
you're pointing out that,
Yeah.
well, that's the area that I looked at that looked to be the best.
The point is, we don't issue an enforcement order, just give them some leeway to do what they want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
so,
I agree. That's
I
the
mean,
way to go tonight.
just to
so-
remind everyone, the one thing we haven't discussed is whether this does qualify for agricultural exemptions. So if it doesn't, the 100-foot area is within our jurisdiction. What they're saying is that it does qualify because one of the services they offer is breeding.
Correct.
But I did go to your site and it wasn't listed anywhere under your services. So, you know, if you're not doing that, you don't qualify for agricultural. So that is something we did discuss, it was up in the air.
How do we verify that?
I can provide veterinary bills showing you breeding, video cameras of the foals installed.
I mean, I'm sure, I
I just
don't,
don't advertise it because I don't provide that service for outside clientele. I only provide that service for myself, my own foals. So I don't offer that. We only offer lessons, boarding for outside clientele. Boarding is not a service we provide for anyone other than our own. So I don't offer it. Does that
in
make
terms of breeding and selling, you don't,
I don't pull other people's horses at our farm because of the liability of it.
okay.
I only pull our own horses at the farm that I sell, breed and sell. So we
Okay.
don't provide that service on our website or anything like that.
Does that change anything?
No.
no, I think, you know, the only thing that would change really is like, you know, if it's a agricultural exemption, then, you know, it would, maybe we would just require the RDA, not in full NOI.
Okay, so it's more of just a technical.
And then you would say, you know,
difference.
this is, you know,
Okay,
a negative
thank you.
RDA because it's agriculturally exempt.
Alright. Sorry.
Okay. So where do we stand on this? We're going to,
So I think it sounds like we would like to request that you guys, you know, discuss with your, you know, representative and, you know, come up with your ideal solution. Then, you know, apply for that through us at our November 3rd,
Fifth.
5th meeting. You know, if that's possible, if, you know, if you guys come up with some delays in the meantime, like just contact me so I can, you know, let the commission know. And then, you know, we'd like to come out, if it's all right with you guys, come out to the property on the 5th. That'd be the day of our next meeting,
The morning of the 5th.
morning of the 5th, or maybe another day
With the plans
that's
in hand.
Well,
more
Yeah.
reasonable for all of us. Maybe it'd be a weekend day or something like that to just walk the property. And if you guys could just flag that or like stake that, you know, generally 65 foot, maybe every like 25 feet or something like that.
Should they start on an IDA? If they're gonna have to file one anyway for the 5th? Like that?
Yeah, so they're not gonna be able to get it in for the 5th based on our deadlines. Well, although if they somehow got it in within like a week from now, I probably could get it on the 5th.
I'm just trying to, because they're gonna end up having to file for an IDA. I'm just trying to speed the process along.
Yeah,
as
so
quickly
that's
as
what we're
possible.
asking them to start that
Yeah.
process. Get it to us by our next meeting. It won't be on our next meeting because of the deadline. Likely won't be able to get that in the next week.
So 2 meetings from now,
Yeah,
we should expect it.
yep.
okay,
What is that date, 2 meetings from now?
So,
it would be the 19th,
Tonight, okay.
yeah.
November 19th would be.
Essentially a month from now.
So that's basically the date that it would be heard.
It would be heard,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
But we'd hope
the-
to walk it before then with.
Well, we'd
plans
walk
in
it
mind.
by
Walk
the
it, you
5th
can
or-
do it for the 5th.
The
Right.
5th,
Well,
okay.
you,
Right.
if you want, you guys work though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out, don't
We'll
worry
figure
about
it
that.
You want to mark though,
Yeah, we want to
a
walk.
few days before
Once
the
it gets
5th.
marked, and,
So let's say the week of, like, first week of November, we'd like to walk it.
yeah.
Well, that's,
Yep.
That's
that
the week of
weekend,
the
if you
5th.
want to go on a weekend or something.
Yeah, I can do it, I can do it on my way home from
Yeah.
work, I can do it.
On a weekend or
whatever,
something.
so-
Okay,
Okay,
As long as it's marked,
right.
and,
But you want to mark, make sure it's marked.
That's it, yeah.
do it before we change the clocks.
I'll do it in the morning.
Okay, I think we have a plan?
So we want, yeah, so we want to file it by November 5th for
Yeah.
the 19th.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the
Okay, that's,
deadline. That's the hearing
that's
deadline.
definitely doable.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. And I'll make sure that we have our 60-foot no activity zone marked in the field after they pull back the pile. That'll be there.
65 foot,
Okay.
yeah.
And I
And
will
we're,
just
and we're gonna do the
coordinate.
whole area, right, not just what you
Yeah.
have marked on here, you're gonna do
Correct, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
Okay.
the bank, 65.
And we'll probably just mark that with bean poles and ribbons initially,
Fine.
and then
That's
we'll come
fine,
up with the permanent
Okay, that's fine.
mechanism with our filing,
Yep,
Great.
if that's satisfactory to you
That's-
guys.
That works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that-
That's fine.
Sounds good to me.
And
Okay.
I'll just coordinate with you, Liz, on when we plan to come by and when the manure is being removed. So, ideally we'll come by afterwards. So if it is, after the 5th, then maybe we'll come by after the 5th. Okay?
Okay, we're good. Just out of curiosity, where do you live in Wisconsin?
Colon.
Colon.
Kohler, okay. I went to Ripon,
Oh.
Ripon
Just
College,
moved out there 3 years ago.
so I like Wisconsin. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you,
All right,
thank you
yes,
for
thank
getting
you
this
guys very
done
much.
quickly.
Do we have to vote on something here, or no, we good?
No, it was just discussion, I think we're
Okay.
good.
Okay,
I think we're all set.
all right.
So thank you all for coming in.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much as well, and I'll give you a call and then we'll figure out what to do with this information. I'll get it to you electronically.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have 2 sets of minutes to be approved. We have the 10-1 minutes attached. We had the 9-17 minutes attached to our last packet 2 weeks ago on the 1st. So we'll start with the minutes of 9-17. Has everyone read them?
I
Yes.
read them, but I left them at home, but
It's okay,
I was fine with them.
right? No corrections, no questions?
I didn't see anything.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of 9/17/2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Carl, seconded by Ann, to approve the minutes of 9/17. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously. Next up are the minutes from our last meeting on October 1st. Has everyone read them?
Just 3 of us, yeah. 3 of us, that was it.
I read them, didn't mean it.
Oh, you read them, yeah.
Yeah, you guys can still all vote on it. You don't have to be.
I
there
actually,
to
I
vote
watched,
on
I
it.
was actually watching the meeting.
I watched
I was
it
in
too.
New York, I was watching it on.
Wow.
so-
Thanks for doing that. We really
Okay.
No, I watched it too. It was- yeah.
All right. Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes?
Second?
Second.
Jen, second.
Do we abstain or not? Because we weren't
You
here.
didn't have to.
totally up to you.
You can just not
abstain,
vote.
but-
I just don't really.
I mean, you can't vote on the minutes of the meeting you're not here for, so.
Oh, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved 3-0-0 for 10-1. Any other topics? Anyone?
CPC, they watched our meeting of a couple meetings ago, and they know that we want to come back for more money for the Lakeview project.
Okay.
They just wanted me to remind you that the deadline is hard and fast and coming up quick.
When is the November meeting? Is it before Thanksgiving?
It's the, I believe it will.
20th?
It'll be before Thanksgiving, correct. But we also, you're not going to get it in for October's meeting, but, let's see. It's usually the last Thursday of the month, but it's gonna be the 20th, I believe, of November.
And is that the deadline date?
Yes, it's gonna be, I would consider it the deadline
So that'll
date.
be money for,
Labor for
oh, the,
outdoor
Demolition.
classroom,
no, not demo, just the outdoor classroom.
yeah.
Okay.
Who mowed the grass, by the way?
That was me.
Great job! You did that by yourself? Oh, great.
Yeah, I did that on Friday last week.
Oh,
So
very nice. Thank you.
Did your haircut motivate you?
I cut the lawn and then
Then you got a
that
haircut.
perhaps
Okay.
motivated me.
You did it yourself? Well, that looks good.
I did it with the
See,
help of the
see, Emil, I have more
DPW.
credit, I'm not surprised you did it by yourself, I don't know why.
No,
you
no, I'm
gave
not
so-
surprised.
Well, I didn't do it
It's
just
not his
by
normal work
myself.
duties, and I thought, I'm just, thank you for
The
doing that.
DPW did drop off the brush cutter, which they, maintain, and
Yeah.
they filled it up with gas. They brought it to the property for me, so it's not just me. They brought it there for me. And I have fun doing that. But yeah, I did do the fall maintenance. I probably will go out there and weed whack a little bit.
I
And
see you
then
went in the back too, a little more.
potentially I will blow the leaves with a backpack blower if we get to that point. But for right now, I haven't
If
hired
you wait
anyone.
long enough, they'll go next door.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, wait till the
What I
northwest
do
wind
with the
comes.
backpack, well,
They'll be in the post office.
Well, I might have other people in my office if that's the case. So.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we're out. Thank you, Area 58.